let's talk about the last animal. Since this is the one that you guys all have different, which is super cool. I'm gonna go with Rachel first this time. So because Rachel, you're play last, right? So you're gonna be like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you're gonna be more pros than Avis. I'm still thinking. I'm like, who's more pros? Like, I feel like Avis would be because like she's like DI, but you're double activated sleep, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so yeah, let's share about what is life like in the world of Rachel being play last. Like, what does that look like? And like, can you share your struggles with that? And also, yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I already mentioned it before. I ended up talking about that when talking about my blast sleep. But that I feel like it does hold me back socially, and I'm quite socially awkward, and it's difficult for me to make friends and talk to people in general. Um, and I'm lacking some energy that I wish I had. Um, some of that is probably other stuff too, physical stuff or whatever, but I think some of it is just a play last. Um, I don't know what else to say. I had a whole interview with you about it. What did I tell you? It's it's frustrating for me right now. Um, yeah.
Do you want us to loop back to you? I don't know.
Sure. I don't know if I'll have too much more on that. I mean, the interview I had with you was difficult. It's hard for me to kind of get a grasp on that. Play last and
What's hard about it? Like
I'm
you have a hard time pinging with people? What's
yeah, yeah, I have a hard time, yeah, just knowing what to say. I mean, it's pretty easy for me to, if someone's asking me something about something I know about, I can talk for a very long time if I want to, and that's very easy. And I'm good at explaining things, the teaching thing. I'm really good at that. It's a talent, I guess. But when it comes to more, yeah, pinging or just something that's more open or something, I don't know what to say, and it's always awkward. And I don't
Maybe
know.
maybe it's something that I also experienced, Tarot, and see if that's something similar to you. It's um like I don't really what I observe about people who are very good socially is that they remember everything about everybody, you know. So where they come into the kitchen and they'd be like, "Hey, how is your da 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 kid doing at the da da da?" Like they seem to know. They just carry on the conversation from they had last time, or they just know what to ask, and they just kind of keep a tab on everybody. That's sort of what I observe. And then what I notice about myself is like, I don't have that habit about people around me. And also for me personally, I don't have something like uh, a lot to automatically share about myself. I don't know. So that's why maybe I feel the same thing about I don't have anything to pin people. So it's like a blank and I don't know what to ask. Is that sort of what you're trying to
Hmm.
say?
Yeah,
Mm.
some of that might be partly a demon SE thing related. I don't know if Lindsay and Samantha would have any of that too, but um what was the other stuff you were saying? Yeah, because I find I can't remember the details
Mm.
about people very
Other
well.
people. Yeah.
Yeah. Um and I thought for me part of that was a lower consume thing too, but you have higher consume and you still have that, so maybe I don't know.
And it maybe
Um
that they're not in my FI bucket and my FI
yeah.
bucket really low.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um hmm?
No, I was just gonna say like yeah, no, because Avis and my girlfriend are type twins, and then so
Mm.
I see my girlfriend doing what Avis is saying, kind of like if she doesn't care about you, she's not gonna listen to you, you know. So even though there's like high consume, it's like I'll only listen
Hmm.
to you if you're in my FI box. If you're in my FI box, you know, you can F off.
Mhm.
And then she'll like
Yeah.
like so yeah, I thought that's really interesting for sure. Lindsay, you have a I'm gonna go switch gears to Lindsay because Lindsay has an introverted what do you call it? Introverted last animal, which is consume last. So Lindsay, that's more like the traditional INTJ, right? Being consume last. And your consume last is also double feminine. So what are your like struggles like with that and and whatnot?
Oh gosh. I mean, so I think on the most surface level is the fact that is well, one, I'm not consuming, and the fact that the consume is SF. So I'm not consuming things that are very like socially relevant or like meaningful in reality. And so that's always been a a point of disconnect with me and tribe members. And I think one of the reasons why it's like I never really felt relatable to other people, or I always kind of felt like everyone else had this handbook of like things that they knew and things that they did, and I never got that handbook like my whole life. But I think a lot of that is tied to the fact that it was double feminine consume last, and I just don't know the things that are happening. Like, and like, even when I try, like, if I try to do like a solid attempt of like, look, human relatability moment, it's like, I usually just miss it. It's just like, I'm totally pinging to the wrong thing. For example, like I was, this was like me trying, right? So like a few weeks ago, I was playing chess on like chess.com, and like they match you with people, and the person's like screen name or whatever you call it was Baba Yaga. And in my head, I was like, oh my gosh, that's a movement from one of my favorite symphonies that I played. And I was like, I'm gonna have a relatable moment with this person. And I was like, oh, I love Mussorgsky. And they were like, what? And I was like, Baba Yaga. I was like, it's one of my favorite movements from pictures at an exhibition. And they were like, no, it's like from like a John Wick movie or something like that. And I was like, oh. And it was just like such a miss. Like you couldn't have missed any further. But like that was like my attempt of, being like, yeah, look, SF human thing, right? Like we can both relate. Like I think this is cool too. And it was just so far. But like that's a good metaphor for like like anything, right? And so one of the blessings of OP actually has been the fact that I've had to consume like as a part of studying OP. And so I've learned who people are that are like socially relevant. I've actually learned some of their story. I've had to like force myself to consume about them, even though it's like I still have like the awkwardness of being like, hey, have you guys ever heard who Jamie Foxx is? And everyone's like, yeah, everyone knows who Jamie Foxx is. I'm like, okay, well, just learn who they were today. And so there's that part of it, which is kind of just like I said, a continual narrative. The other side of like the double feminine consume last is like being in a situation where I have to consume kind of makes me like anxious or uncomfortable. Like I always have to feel like I have an out, and so it's like, okay, I have to consume this, but I want to like be able to like do something else or go somewhere else if I have to, because feeling I have to consume for just the sake of consume feels so it feels like almost like too much pressure. Because it's like my attention to be able to consume something for that long doesn't feel like it's going to be adequate. I really enjoy having to NT like think about things and like pull things apart, and that comes with like digesting the same thing over and over again. And so when I can't do that, because consume is very much a flow inward and taking in, but I don't want to do that. I want to like take like one bite and then like eat it over and over and over again. And so I process it, and then like I understand it, and then I pull it through like another level. And so that's like my method, right? I'll take like an inch and then I'll make that into a mile. Whereas consume, it's like you have to be okay with that total like inward process just over and over again. And that just feels very wrong to me. So I guess that's kind of my summary of consume loss.
Lindsay, what are some like popular, I guess, people that you've learned from the most? Like who's somebody you listen to that you've gotten a lot from?
So I mean, I think like when you look at, I'm just gonna have to pull from like my mind of like the OP database. So there was John, gosh, I'm forgetting his last name, but I see his face. He was the guy who did the hairline We typed in the very beginning of class. He's SEFE. He was like, I learned a lot from him. He's like a billionaire who just like, he never took funding for his companies, and he just was like kind of focused on value, similar to Gary Vee. Learned a lot from Gary Vee as well. And then also from, you know, it was through OP that I found Joe Dispenza, who's a very similar type, you know, to all of us. And I remember like when I first got to his class, watching his stuff, I was like, oh, like this is a brother, like straight up. I know this person's, the way that they're thinking, it felt so, every way that his brain thought to like make a sentence was like I was right there with him, you know. And so that was like a really cool moment, and I'll watch and take in from him, because it's like I'm so aligned with how he is, and then I'll take in a very like contrasting person, you know, like someone like Gary Vee, where it's just like, it's blowing my mind the fact that he's seeing the world that the way that he's seeing it. So I'll kind of take like the very like, I think, extremes, and then take a little bit and learn so much from them. So
I like how Avis looked horrified when you're telling your chess story earlier, Lindsay. You know, like she was like,
it was kind of horrifying, to be honest.
Yeah, that's actually, that happens a lot to my NTJ in my circle, which, so that's why I never felt like I was one, because I guess it's just natural for me to kind of know what is happening in the SF world, and yeah, and then I think I always had to remind them reality is important. It's almost like, it's just like last week I just know my INTJ friend is misreading his flight time. I just know it, because it's like one of those midnight thing, and then I know he misread it, and he keep assuring me no, I double check, and then of course then he told me later, yeah, he realized he he did the wrong day, so he had to quickly rush. He ran to the airport or something like that. So it just happened to that a lot, like just that whole reality or things happens in like the thing with the, it just in front of it, but you don't actually digest into your brain or something, which to me, I think on the spectrum, in the whole spectrum of type, my consume is not the top, because it has to fall inside my bucket. But once it's inside my NI, like I really love just to get that information. And also I love getting like different type of information. So when you were talking about your consume process, about just getting a little pie and just keep digesting it, I want to know more. I want to know the breadth of things. So yeah, so kind of just like, oh, what about this? And kind of keep stepping my toe a little bit more and more, not just like jumping right out, like the sleep play kind of people do, just like jump over. But I have my mythological kind of way to expand. Yeah. So it was just, I just see that from my NITI friend so much. Just like, oh, reality, whatever.
I think Avis, you're consume, you know enough that you don't get like the embarrassing moments like Lindsay's, you know, like that she's falling into.
Right.
Just enough.
And also I don't blast enough to get caught.
Yeah. Oh, can you talk about being blast last, since we're on this topic, and then we'll jump into Samantha. So so blast struggles.
I think it's very normal. Like I think Shane talk about it all the time. Last struggle is always get yourself started, like to accomplish anything, right? Your last play people are so used to just get things started and just get. And the thing is really like once you get things started, you have the momentum, and things just happen. Instead, last is always about how do I prepare myself to the point of I feel okay to make a first step. That has been like my default mode growing up, right? And I don't realize it until later. It's just like, why do I always just want to learn stuff, but then but for me to relearn my tester modality helps a little bit too. For it does. I need to do something in order to learn better. So that has that component in it. The tester mobility, I kind of felt like that helped me a little bit to get things going. And I also, the society really emphasized on the blast play. So that forced me to, in order to be successful at school, at work, at anything I do, you know, how the society is molding you to be a blast play person. So then we are not, like Rachel, you might feel a lot of guilt or something, you're not, because that's what we think. Or maybe because I'm consuming the social society, I felt that a lot too, right? That you need to be this, like Samantha was saying, like, yeah, if you are playful, you are higher on the hierarchy. Like we all feel that in high school, there's the hierarchy there. So I was striving to be that, and it's hard, it's difficult to get to the play blast. So it's I finish my sleep consume, get to play is relatively easy because I just go out and do my activity and meet the people in my activity, which the social type comes in that really explain that a lot. But get to the point of blasting and actually doing something for the tribe or teaching something to the tribe is really difficult. Like it has to be methodically line out and organized in a way where everybody understand, and that I felt like I need to go back and do a lot more homework because it's not just for myself anymore. I need to consider every different type of people and how they consume, how they learn. So there's like a whole bunch of other things that come into that in order for me to blast instead of just blasting for what I know that what works for me. I feel like, oh, I need to do so much more homework. And I go back to my sleep consume land again. But then that got into a really bad cycle, right? So you never truly get there. So I started doing blasting more comfortably with people are closer to me, where I know will work for them or something, to start practicing my blast. And also work kind of forced me to do a lot of blasting as well too. It is a scale. It's almost like once you start, you are on the momentum, my play blast momentum then. So when I'm out there in the world, I am quite play blast. I'm just like, this is what I do because I already sleep consume all the plans I need to do. And then I start to find my limit of like, okay, I can only do one, max two thing in a day. So like today, this is my one thing. My next thing is my two thing, and I'm done. Like I need to physically plan one or max two thing. And I know that especially if it's a blasting, I'm kind of like need to take care of myself and done for the day. So, and that's just who I am, and that's okay. But there is certain fulfillment about being able to blast because you kind of complete that circle. There's something about that, completing your animal circle at the fall thing that kind of also fits into my social type, I guess, which is, so I'm still working on it, but my goodness, like having blast it's hard to, if you have ambition, that is definitely something that you have to keep trying to motivate yourself. So that's something I was learning about what to have. Like, so Dave and Shan was like, you go to a playlist, you have your fuel, you have something like you play that motivation, or yeah, just different kind of method to get yourself moving. And it's always focusing on the next step. That ladder analogy is really, really close to my heart, where if you make the ladder, every step is so wide, you're never gonna go anywhere. So just make it tiny. Make it tiny. My tiny step is just move my leg out of the bed. That's always my first step every day.
All right. So one quick comment before we go to Samantha. So it does makes perfect sense to me now why like even blast last people when they start talking they don't stop blasting. It's because it takes so long to charge up to do it. So when you finally get a chance to do it, you bet no one better interrupt you, because you know this is like now or never, because it's like it took forever to even get there. So yeah. Um Anyways, I'm moving on to Samantha. Sleep last, double feminine. Oh my god. And then I see you taking lots of notes from like what Avis was saying too, because like I think that
Oh
she's
yeah.
doing a lot of stuff that like you're not doing. So yeah,
Yeah.
can you share a little bit about like the double feminine sleep last struggle that you have?
Yeah, well, I mean, I just wanted to say real quick, like I've never really put much thought to how like society does make all of us want or have to fit into that mold of blast play. And you know, I always wondered why I didn't have such like the same struggles that my other peers did, because I kind of played into that role. But it just really makes me have a lot of sense of respect for you guys, because you know that's your the peak of your mountain. I think for me, sleep last is really hard because I can get there. I can make it look good, make it look shiny. People are on board and they're excited about it, and I can maybe make it go very far. But inside, I'm hollow. Like I still don't know who I am. I still don't know exactly what I'm standing for. Like my values are still being developed as we speak. Like um I struggle a lot currently with you know, like self-monitoring, like you and Rachel seems like you guys do. Like self-monitoring is like what's too much, what's too little. Um yeah, and just that self-maintenance, I still really don't have those boundaries. They either come in like full waves or they're non-existent. Like with people that are in my circle, I really just allow them to do whatever they want, and I'm like I play into that because I think I have a lot of self-esteem issues, and I think I just want to be accepted by the people that are around me. There's a phrase that says like some of us don't actually want to be successful, some of us just want to be loved, and I think that really hits home to me. Like I'm not a number one. I don't really want to be a number one. Like Dave and Shan say, you know, I don't want to sacrifice like family and you know friends and a good quality of life to be a number one. So that's not my purpose in life. But I do feel like sometimes I get pushed into that, and when you get pushed into those kinds of roles, you are under a lot of scrutiny, and I don't have the inner identity. My identity is not strong enough to be able to take some of those criticisms, so I take those in, and I'm like, you're right, I am not doing what I said I was going to do. And so I talked with Shan about it, and she's mentioned like, you know, how important it is to have those boundaries. And I actually tracked my sleep schedule for like 6 months, which is insane. I've never done something like this for so long. But when I narrowed it down, what was the thing that was like really holding me back, was ruining my days, was like making me super bitter against my family and against my coworkers and whatever. It was dead ass because I was not waking up on time. Like I was so dumb, it's so little, but I was just not waking up when I was supposed to. I was waking up waking up late started off my day like terribly. So I mean, I used to like ponder and was like, what does sleep mean? What exactly is sleep? And it literally for me just meant that, just actually getting to bed and sleeping when I'm supposed to. And I'm still not there. I got us what is it, a life coach for like a month, and I'm still like not where I need to be, but that's me.
Oh, I just had a question for you, Samantha. My brother is also sleep last,
Mhm.
and he like literally can't process anything unless he's talking to people.
Oh.
So sometimes he'll do things like there'll be something he's super interested in, and he'll like wake up his wife who's sleeping late at night and say, you know, wife, I need to think about this thing, but he can't think about it unless he's talking to her. Do you have any of that at all? Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, when there's no one around, because I live with my roommate, but she does her own thing. When there's nobody around, you talk to yourself. So I know it sounds crazy, but I do that a lot. I journal, or it sounds super terrible, and I'm afraid that this is gonna end up on YouTube. But I do talk to myself like, hey Sam, like, you know, and I probably sound incredibly insane, but you
No,
know,
I think it makes sense if you're sleep last. Yeah.
yeah, that's how I self like reflect. Writing is great, but I'm lazy, so sometimes just talking into a mirror is the next best thing. But yes, I struggle with processing.
Yeah, I relate to a lot of stuff that Samantha said, being a fellow sleep last. So, for sure. All right.